Sunday of the month, we have the brief, short healing service. To remind us that that's the purpose. The church is a spiritual hospital, and we come here to be healed, soul and body, but mostly spiritually. So today we have the healing service. After the agape meal, I'll try to finish that talk about the holy icons, how to read the icons with the PowerPoint, God willing. And next Sunday, the anniversary, but one day, of Ladika Barlam's falling asleep, and so we'll have a panikita for Ladika Barlam, and the agape meal that day is going to be a meal in honor of Ladika, or in memory of Ladika Barlam, what we in Serbia would call a dacha, or a mercy meal. So we want to have a special meal on that day in memory of our beloved Ladika Barlam, to be missed. So that will, and remember too, the day of, as we begin the voyage toward Great Lent, always with the Sunday of Zacchaeus, which was last week. But today we begin the service book called the Triodium. It's the divine services that lead us toward Great Lent. And it's always, well, if we start this Triodium with the Publican and the Pharisee, because one of our greatest podvigs, our greatest struggles, is not judging and condemning our neighbor. We find so many reasons. Sometimes a Christian will, a leader or pastor will say, God is love. Now here's a list of people you're supposed to hate, or judge, or condemn, or cast out. But God is love, yes. But so we want to make this true in our own hearts, that we begin this Great Lent with this reading, warning us also not to judge those who don't keep the fast as well as some people think they do. Also not to be fanatical with the fast. We start the fast in a few weeks, but we start this Sunday also reminding us about judging and condemning other people for what they do and what we see, and not being so busy doing that we can't judge ourselves. And so we can't really repent because we don't judge ourselves. But that's part of the healing ministry of the church. When they come to confession, it's for the healing of soul and body. Not just so you can say, I felt this way, I felt that way, I swore, I cursed, I got. The main thing is when you come to confession is to take responsibility for yourselves. Take responsibility for every action, every thought, every deed. We can't make any headway, spiritually or otherwise, unless we take responsibility for our actions and take responsibility for ourselves. That's what the Publican did today. He took responsibility for his own soul. The Pharisee didn't take responsibility at all. He tried to push the responsibility somewhere else. So try to take this reading, Publican and Pharisee, really to heart, and understand that it's entering into any spiritual path. We can do 1,000 metanis, 1,000 pakoni or postations. Read the prayer book 100 times through every day. One episode of judging and condemning our neighbor erases all the prayers we've said, erases all the frustrations, all the metanises that we've done. And we have to start over from the beginning. But we shouldn't even judge ourselves too harshly. We should be a little bit merciful toward ourselves also, and much more merciful toward our neighbors. That's, as we begin the voyage toward Great Lent, as we begin the pathway toward Great Lent, the time given to us in the mercy of God to help try to renew us spiritually, to restore us spiritually, to resuscitate us spiritually. Now as we move toward that feast, let's pay attention to the readings for each day, which are especially designed for us for each Sunday. And the divine services, also the changing parts of it, designed to help to, as medication, as a prescription from the great physician for the healing of soul and body. And try to make the most of this, really, because the world is a little bit dark right now and we need to have a little more light. If we can't, through the divine services and through our struggles, shed some light in the world, then we're surrounded indeed by heavy darkness. So brothers and sisters, let's set off on this voyage now, moving toward Easter Sunday and the beginning of the Forgiveness Sunday. Because we're coming to Forgiveness Sunday, this gives us a few weeks now to think very seriously about anyone that we have a grudge against or that we have ill feelings or ill will toward. To seek the forgiveness of others and to accept the forgiveness of others when it comes to us. To prepare ourselves to remember that the past, not to submit ourselves to law, to some legal code, to force ourselves to fast because of some law, but remember that it's a struggle to acquire greater self-discipline and self-control so that we can actually be Christians and not just say or talk about Christianity. Amen.